Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Kevin Patrick, founder at ETAN Apparel. For those of you who may not know, ETAN Apparel is an ethical fashion brand that feeds people in need for every item sold. And our vision is that by 2025, we want to have provided over 1 million meals. And I feel very, very, very lucky today because we've got our very good friend and an Eaton Apparel ambassador, Ben, who is joining us today to have a really insightful conversation. So, Ben, thank you so much for being here today. Very, very, very much appreciate your time. And to kick things off, it'd be great to sort of just understand and know a little bit about yourself for those maybe who've sort of seen you for the first time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, man. So I'm Ben. I'm 26 years old. That's weird saying that out loud, actually. 26 years old. I'm a freelance filmmaker, director. But actually studied. Thank you. I actually studied in business management though at Surrey. But graduated over in 2017. So it's been a few years, but just kind of figuring out your path a little bit. And thankfully it's a lot of fun. And it's been great so far.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I have to say this because I always say this, especially about you, is that there's one thing that I have to, if I sort of think of Ben and what Ben sort of relates to me in my mind is just how contagious your energy, your smile, and that you see that in all your work and everything as well. So I know I've said it, but I'd like to just say it again. And I think that's the theme. That's my slogan for you, Ben, the contagious.
I love that. Thank you so much. That means a lot when it comes from other people, especially someone like yourself as well, man. Like, thank you so much. Like, Mum did okay raising this one, so yeah. You just have to be yourself, man. So, but thank you so much, man. That means a lot, honestly.
No, not at all, man. No, I genuinely mean that. So, Ben, one thing I always love to ask people, and I think today would be a great place to ask that as well, is what's one thing, okay, just one thing that amazes people when they either find it out for themselves or you tell them. Maybe you've been friends with someone and then 3 years later they find something about you and it just makes their jaw drop, or it's sort of like, wow, that's amazing. Is there anything like that you could sort of share with us?
I mean, just a couple of things actually, especially with the whole freelance kind of creator and director type of stuff. Like I haven't really been doing it for that long. So technically I only got my proper first video camera in mid 2020, and like in a small amount of time have done commercials, brand work, stuff that got featured in GQ, a couple of like music video sets as well, and like, so that amazes a lot of people. But I think that's kind of stemmed from being in drama school and like doing all that type of stuff. A lot of people that know me in the last maybe since uni don't know that, because I kind of went to uni to business management, and that's the last thing some people kind of assumed about me anyway. So it's always quite fun to kind of see that anyway. But yeah, I think that kind of surprised a lot of people. I thought a lot of people tend to message me thinking that I've been doing this for years. But I think a part of me, and we've had discussions anyway as well, being creative and being in that field anyway, that's always been a passion of mine. So yeah, I mean, that surprised a lot of people. Like, you went to drama school? I'm like, yeah, man, it was fun.
I loved hearing that, because I resonate with that massively, because a lot of people don't know that my passion for acting and I've been very lucky to be on, and I don't know, I told you this recently, but lots of different sort of Hollywood, a couple of sort of Bollywood sets, a lot of sort of Netflix type of things. I was featured in a McDonald's ad, and a lot of people don't relate that to the sort of the businessy aspect, because I obviously went to Surrey as well to do international business. So when you said it, when you said it, I wasn't as surprised, because obviously you're creative. I mean, the fact that you've just mentioned now that you've only been doing the video side and that sort of creative side for a short period of time is quite mind blowing to see what you have done and are able to achieve, and my God, what else are you going to do this year, in the years to come? I mean, that's phenomenal. But actually to speak to someone who has that same passion for acting and drama and everything like that, it's refreshing, because I fortunately don't know that many people in that circle personally, so it was great to hear that about you, Ben.
No, but it's the same thing with you as well. Like, especially when you mentioned to me when we were talking about, oh, I've been on sets, I've done this. I'm like, what? No one really assumes certain things as well, which I find amazing. I think that's why I feel like, as human beings, we all have different layers and different sides to us and different interests as well that the rest of the world don't really see as well. So I think that was a perfect example when we were talking, and I was like, you've been on that set, you've done this, yeah. It's so interesting. It's so great.
It's again the importance of networking, isn't it? And networking sort of seems so businessy and entrepreneur, but no, it's about connecting. It's about taking genuine interest with people, spending time with them, especially during a time like in COVID. I think it's for me, that's one of the biggest takeaways. Saying actually spending more time with people, and actually our relationship is fairly new, isn't it, Ben? I mean, it's not like we've known each other for years and years, and you're a mutual friend. We sort of got to know each other, and it's great. But I feel really privileged to have had the opportunity to network, because it's a two-way thing, isn't it? To connect and actually to learn these things. So. No, thank you for your insight on that. It's really good to hear. And guys, please do go check out Ben's work. Incredible stuff. So Ben, let's go into I suppose your relationship with Eaton. So just for everyone to know, how long have you been working with Eaton now, and what sort of what spurred the interest, and what sort of got you what made you want to get involved with ETAN Apparel?
Sure. I've been working with Eaton for the last I would say 3.5 months. Your Sam, who you work closely with as well, is someone I've known at university. And he was talking about, I'm working on something with a friend of mine, and this is what we're doing, and the concept of that was just insane. I was like, hold on, so for every clothing item someone buys, you feed someone? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's the most ethical thing I've ever heard. Like, let me check it out, let me be a part of this. And especially kind of jumping on board of the ambassador's role anyway, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, especially how you guys have connected all the ambassadors together in a WhatsApp group as well, and in the environment you guys have kind of made. It's very pure, it's very genuine, it's very supportive as well. Especially there's been a few stories of a couple of people going through a couple of things, and then everyone's kind of there to kind of and it kind of translates from the company ethos into kind of the people as well that you kind of want to get on board as well. And yeah, I just honestly being a part of something that has that type of impact, how could you not? Like, I love what you guys stand for, and I just love being a part of it.
Amazing. No, thanks, Ben. And same comes back to you. First, Sam, great guy, great energy. Reason I wanted to sort of actually bring him on board to the business, not just the skill set, but just his energy, as we all know, which is fantastic. And thanks to Sam, this relationship with Eaton. And the other point is that you amongst the other ambassadors, the type of human being, your characteristic, not only just because of your interest of thinking, this is ethical, so I need to be involved, but your true passion, which obviously we'll go into in a bit, but really your passion behind what we're doing, and your willingness to support us on that mission and journey. And I think, personally for me, it's you've got to work with people that share that same passion and share that vision, and you definitely are someone who ticks that box. So it's an absolute privilege for us to be able to work with someone like yourself, along with all the other amazing ambassadors. And again, the point that you said about the WhatsApp group, I always consider us as a family, and knowing that and that's the thing, isn't it? We all have a different relationship in our families, but when you're feeling down, to know that you go to a family that just can listen or support. I never imagined that's how our ambassador relationships would be, but the fact it's just magical. It makes the Eaton mission even more beautiful.
No, I definitely agree, man. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, especially during times like this anyway, how many people from a mental health point of view are kind of by themselves, dealing with things as well, and having a safe place as well that you guys have created, not just from a business point of view, but from a human point of view as well, is great. And the fact that kind of comes from both of your personalities too, you know? And I think that speaks volumes as well when the two people that are kind of building this and running this has that type of human connection and everything that translates into the work that you're doing in terms of feeding people, but also to the people that you collaborate with as well. So yeah, man, like honestly, I think I speak on behalf of the rest of the ambassadors that, you know, super grateful, man. Like you guys are doing amazing stuff.
Thank you for the kind words, man. Really appreciate it. So Ben, I'd love to hear your take, and I know obviously, you know, talk a little bit about yourself, obviously with the Eaton aspect, but, you know, really going into the actual issue here, or what Eaton is really sort of trying to be a part in terms of a solution, and sort of really trying to support it sort of around the hunger crisis that's going around in the world. And, you know, I'd just love to take this opportunity to ask you and really just open the space to sort of hear your take and sort of your passion. Well, first of all, I guess your view and opinion on it, but then I suppose the passion that comes from it in terms of, you know, why and how you want to help, but, you know, really understanding your take on the hunger crisis that's going on at the moment in the world.
No, absolutely. I think with the hunger crisis, I think being a third generation British Bangladeshi, like my grandparents came over to the UK. I think my granddad came over in his mid-20s. And so, honestly, the UK and kind of the Western world is kind of all I know as well, because my parents were born up here. But I remember going back to Bangladesh in 2014 and kind of seeing how rough things can be, even for people in my family as well. And I think we've touched on this outside of this conversation, especially where we're from, in that part of the world where you can be living great in one location, but you walk out and you walk literally 2 minutes down the road and there's something, like, from a Western point of view, you're like, oh, that's not normal, but that's very normal in that part of the world. And I remember kind of thinking to myself, like, wow, just because my granddad, out of like how many siblings, decided to kind of come to the UK and like build a life here, I have this life now. And it's just like, wow, I'm so grateful. And I could even last like 3 weeks there, 2 weeks there. And just from the right of birth, like I'm in this place where, you know, we have certain systems in place where, you know, if things are bad, that we are able to kind of like have support and everything. But then knowing that most of the world is actually dealing with this issue and how bad it is in certain areas of the world, and even in most countries as well, like even in the UK, like I'm sure we'll touch on this later, there's so many like issues that we need to kind of like sort out. But especially when you're looking directly from excuse me, where your family come from, that's when it really hits, you know. And I remember seeing that and I was like, I'm never going to be really ungrateful about a lot of stuff anymore. And I think definitely that trip changed the way I thought, because I haven't been there for 12 years up until then. So for me, it was like, it hit me like a train a little bit. So I was like, wow, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, isn't there? You know, there was this great story that you mentioned as well, to me, about the chef. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole reason, I suppose, how Eaton came to life, really, and it, you know, it comes back to the point that you mentioned, and I just completely resonate, Ben, when you talk about your granddad, because it's the same story for me with my dad. And I think back, I mean, I'm very lucky that I go back to India once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, for my own family. My wife's family's been in Mumbai, my family's originally from Chennai, so I always go back, and it's still today, I think, God, why me, in a good way, you know, but why me? You know, I think, God, it could have been my dad's brother or my dad's sister, or, you know, someone else, or my dad's cousin who could have been in this place. And I'm so privileged for all the opportunities that I have and this country has given me. And I know that I've got my own cousins. I mean, we're a working class family back home, and my own cousins who've just don't have the same opportunities, you know, population, corruption, whatever you want to call it, you know, for whatever reason, but they just would never and will never have the same opportunities. And I just think, so when you said that, it's just like, I feel like I could feel getting goosebumps a little bit, because I feel like that's exactly how I feel. So, you know, thank you for sharing that, Ben. And the point you mentioned about the chef who actually was a catering manager at a 5-star hotel in South India, where I'm originally, where my family originally from. He was having his everyday commute from work back to home. And for those who've been to India, you know that this whole term of organized chaos and this traffic, you know, all over the place. So, a gentleman in his car and traveling, and about 5-10 minutes in his journey, he stops because of traffic, and there's a slum, or there's an area where there's a lot of homeless people are there, and he sees this one person, a gentleman who's actually eating something from the floor. Now, obviously, there's a normal view. You don't really sort of think anything of it. You sort of just look at it, look back, whatever. But this gentleman who's then sort of carrying on his travels and so on sees that what this person is eating, what this homeless gentleman is eating, is either his or someone else's excretion.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
And then this catering manager, who, because of the industry he's in, is used to throwing away tons and tons of food. You know, that's just how it works. That's how and he couldn't live with himself. He said, "What, 10 minutes away? There's someone who's eating someone's or something's excretion, and I've just been responsible and have seen how many ever kilos or liters of food that's being thrown away. How is this even possible? How is this even right? It's not right." So he couldn't live with himself. He gave up his job. He sold some assets, and then he dedicated his life just to his own community to look after the homeless people and cook for them and give them haircuts and clean them. And when I read this story, and I'm a big believer of a law of attraction, manifestation, all this type of stuff. And I saw this story, and I remember it was in the evening. I broke down. I went to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was crying because I thought, what on the hell? Like, how is this even possible? And sometimes you need those moments. But even then, that wasn't enough for me to start feed at that time, or what's eaten now. But a week later, or a few days later, there was a video that was made, or a short movie that was made on that same story. And when I saw that, there's something powerful in when you read it and then when you see it. And when I saw that, I thought, do you know what? I need to do something to be part of that solution. I can't do that and feed millions or end it, but at least I can do my part to educate, to execute and actually feed, and hopefully inspire other individuals, other businesses to make a difference. And that's the story that obviously I shared with you quite recently.
Right, yeah. I just find that so powerful, man, because even for me, like, throughout sixth form and also university as well, like, I worked at Nando's, man, and bro, like, you know how much food that they make, and you have no idea the amount of waste that happens on a daily basis. And people pay money to eat at Nando's and stuff. So to kind of see the amount of, like, they used to give it to us anyway. And as a uni student, as like someone that was young, I was like, yeah, great, whatever. But the rest would have to throw it away. I know, for example, by the time I left, they did have like in place from the government, like they were like donating it to food banks, but that didn't happen for like the first 3-4 years of my Nando's career, you know. And imagine, and Nando's has been going on for like decades. I think about the other restaurants that have been doing this as well, and certain institutions as well that are just getting rid of food. And I think, it's just, honestly, it's so sad, man. Like, definitely things like that definitely hit you as a human being, because surely, like, especially when you're talking about where our families are from anyway, like how tough it can be, you know, you really think to yourself, you know, like, surely as human beings we have to do more, you know.
Man. And I think another point when you were speaking earlier about sort of being grateful, I'll share another story. When I went to India I can't remember the dates now, but maybe a couple of years ago, my cousin of mine took me to an orphanage, and I usually like to, part of Eaton, but also just as a separate thing, I like to go and at least donate money to orphanages, and you then food is prepared, but then you actually serve the food. You eat you either eat or you sit down with whoever you're sort of serving. And I went to. I had a beautiful opportunity to do that, and it was kids who were parents had passed away, or one kid I spoke to, mother was a prostitute, and another person, father was alcoholic and killed a mother and went to jail. I mean, just mental stories. I mean, these are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, and me and my cousin were there. We were serving food, putting the food on the plates, and the kids asking, basically in the language saying, big brother, come, have you eaten? Big brother, come and eat with us, and it just, you think, it's that's the reality of the world, that's how it is. And I think sometimes we get so comfortable with what we have here, but a 6, 7, 8, 9 hour flight journey to India, and I'm not just talking about India, other parts of the world as well, even in the UK, I've had a lot of opportunity to cook at the Brixton Soup Kitchen, and you see people who are so grateful for it, just for a small bit of rice with this and that. And I think, God, here at home it feels like unlimited food, and that concept is just crazy.
It is wild, man. Like, honestly, like, just the fact that we are living in a world where we have multi-billion companies, and let's just look at that. Look, I love Amazon. It's so quick and everything, but look how much money they make, and look how that we are so kind of, and those people that are constantly buying stuff, and we're a part of that as well, but no idea, and so oblivious, and also numb as well, because we are still aware, but we also get numb as well, because we get sucked into our everyday lives, the fact that there's still this going on as well, and man, it's so sad. Honestly, it's so sad.
Yeah, but it's positive that, one big positive to take away, as you're saying in Nando's, at least, whether it was a third or fourth or fifth year, whenever it was, at least if they were starting to donate to the food banks, if governments are starting to realise that there's actually a much bigger problem, and that people need to sort of take part and do things. If small companies like Eaton are born, and there are amazing companies out there, and I've said this to you, Ben, I say this to anyone, our mission is to feed people in need. If people see Eaton and are reminded that they should or can donate to a soup kitchen or donate their time, instead of buying a piece of clothing, I still feel like we've done our mission. We have still supported, educated, reminded, whatever you want to call it, to help with one less person being hungry today. And I think that's what is at least a positive. People are becoming much more aware, and that's all great. So that actually brings me on very nicely to my next question for you, Ben. So Eaton Apparel is obviously a part of the solution. It's not the solution; it's part of the solution, and we're going to keep working non-stop until we hit our targets, and I mean by targets in terms of by feeding or providing over 1 million meals by 2025, hopefully sooner, and then keep increasing those numbers. But from your perspective, Ben, what else should we as individuals and as a society do to be part of the solution in this hunger crisis, would you say?
I think that it's a perfect segue as well, how it kind of relates to that. I think when you mention like Eaton being part of the solution, and then you're seeing companies such as Nando's and other food places now are slowly kind of, you got apps now that are allowing you to kind of pick up food that is going to be waste for pennies now, which is fantastic. My mom does this actually for a lot of bakery stuff and a lot of other little things that you can do, and they're amazing. And that's the thing, like I think as technology changes, we have to change also, but we also need to use that technology to kind of help the planet, help certain things such as hunger, the hunger crisis. And I think apps like that, and obviously movements like Eaton, are really going to contribute to that, especially because you're looking at I'll cut that out. Especially because you're looking at the fact that every single time you buy a piece of clothing, you get to click on the website exactly where it's going, right? And how many people it's going to feed for how long. You're literally seeing that, which is fantastic. I mean, you're actually seeing that on the website. You're seeing apps such, I don't even know the apps from the top of my head, but I know a lot of my friends use them. I don't know if you know any.
I do know. It actually wasn't enabled in Camberley, so I actually uninstalled it, or I signed up for the let us know when it's ready. But
yeah, sure, exactly, yeah. Of course, and I think with things like that, I think that's going to be the main thing. That's going to be the main thing that's going to help as well. And which, look, when companies, and sometimes I think sometimes if Eaton can really kind of push it even more as well, other companies will definitely take notice, and the world will take notice as well. And I think that's what you mentioned as well. Like, you want people to kind of really look at what you're doing and genuinely think, okay, can I purchase something? If I can't purchase something, actually, maybe it will remind me to, like you said, let me go and donate, let me give my time as well to kind of doing my bit as well. And I think what the point is bringing the awareness, the fact that this is happening, and the fact that here we're a company that you have the option to actually do something right now. So, and I think that's amazing. I think that's what we need to do as a society, is kind of be way more aware of kind of what we're consuming as well. Because don't get me wrong, I don't know about you, but especially, like, we've all wasted food before, but I know a part of me is like, oh, now I feel really bad about this. We need to kind of be better in terms of the way we manage our kind of intake, and also the fact that living within our means as well, not just in food, but I think in clothes and kind of things that we purchase as well, you know. And I think honestly, I genuinely believe a lot more people being way more self-aware about this as well. But I think there's also a segment of the world that are going away from that completely, you know, as technology grows. So it's a pros and cons, but, you know, Eaton will, and I believe Eaton, that's why I love being a part of this kind of movement, is the fact that there is something out there that tangibly you can see change if you actually do something with it. So yeah.
And that's the thing for me as well. You know, I obviously, when Eaton was created, as with any business, I suppose you sort of do, you know, you do your market research, or you sort of understand what else is available out there. And I was surprised at how little there was. I mean, there are certain brands out there, and you know, they might be targeted different areas and so on. I mean, there are other ones that I've seen that are very much at the higher, in terms of price point, you know, very, very high. And for me, fine, no problem. I mean, I think if we're all doing our bit as entrepreneurs, as individuals, and, you know, the key word you said there around, you know, awareness, I think if you can start to apply that, and you know, that's what really happened to me, I would say, you know, in that story I shared earlier, and that awareness of then being able to fuse it with the skill sets and the knowledge that I have to be able to at least create some sort of infrastructure. You know, we're still tiny, we're still small, you know, we're still, you know, fairly unknown, but when people do know us and hear about us, I don't know if the right word, but they do go crazy for us. They do think, oh my God, why have we never seen anything like this? It's such a great cause and thing. And you know, I think, again, the point you mentioned, that if Eaton can keep pushing and doing that work and getting that message out, and that is our fuel. That is our fuel to keep going. You know, if even if we're putting a lot of stuff out and the response isn't there yet, we will keep pushing, because like anything, you know, these type of bigger changes and movements do take time. Otherwise, things could just happen overnight. I loved what you said there about self-awareness, Ben. I think that's key, and again, just trying to be positive, but I think it's great, especially the younger generation. I do think are becoming much more aware, maybe because of media and other things like that. And
definitely, I completely agree with that. I think media is gonna, especially with social media as well, how it highlights certain things. Especially, look, our age, we weren't accessible to that. We were only given what we were told or what we saw. Whereas I think nowadays the younger generation are kind of, they have access to everything. There's pros and cons to that as well, but hopefully the pros is the awareness of movements like this and as well, and what's going on in the world too. You know, and hopefully the future looks bright from that.
Yeah, and as you said, the word future brings me to my next point, Ben, which I'd love to ask you is, so obviously we talked about the hunger piece. I'd like to obviously bring it a little bit back into fashion now. So, in your opinion, what does the future of fashion look like? I'm talking, 5, 10, 15, 20, I mean, maybe even sooner, but, what does the future of fashion look like to you?
I think with fashion, it's such an interesting space, because with just like kind of anything, trends come and go, and trends stay for a longer period of time, especially with it when it comes to fashion anyway. How you see how crazy people go for the luxury kind of fashion types of items as well, and how much money certain shoes go for and certain tops go for, that kids and people just have to save up and go for. But I genuinely think that in terms of, we're talking from a fashion point of view, I think street fashion is something that has always been about, and something that even luxury kind of brands are jumping on as well, and because there's longevity to that. And I think, especially with having brands that are having their take on street fashion, it's such an interesting space, because the movement of fashion just completely changes. I know, for example, when I was, even a couple of years ago, skinny jeans was a thing now loose fits are a thing now, but loose fits have always been there, but it wasn't cool before. Do you understand? I think there's certain fashion kind of pieces that people have always worn, or people have always had, but it's like, oh, it's not cool. Like Crocs are weirdly cool now for some people. And do you see what I'm saying? Whereas like 2-3 years ago, people were like, why would you wear that? And it's interesting, man. And I think with fashion, I think it's subjective. Honestly, I think fashion is very subjective, and I personally believe, look, if you are comfortable wearing something, and if you feel like, I use fashion to kind of express myself as well, but I also use fashion as a convenience too. I like to kind of be comfortable. I like to kind of be, can I do a lot of things in these clothes? Are these clothes versatile? And it's subjective. Like, some people, you might wear something and I might hate it, but I might wear something and it's not for other people. And I think that's why I think fashion is like such a great and such an interesting space, because everyone has a take on it, and everyone has their own say. And I think with the future of fashion as well, the way technology is changing, I can see brands are starting up online, such as Eaton, such as like so many others as well, and having them. It's not just traditional fashion outlets where you're seeing the Gucci's, the Louis Vuittons, and the massive ones, or the H&M's or whatever, are always going to kind of be about. But I think the future of fashion are going to be companies who are innovating, who are doing who is helping, which kind of completely segues into kind of Eaton. Like, honestly, like for me, if I buy brands that I love what they stand for. I love the way it looks, and I just feel good when I'm wearing something. Now, if I go for a brand that is also doing quite well, I'm like, by the way, I bought this, and guess I fed someone in this place for this amount of time because I got this. I think that is the future of fashion, and I do believe. I don't know if you feel like this. Do you think if companies like Eaton can really push the boundaries and also innovate the kind of fashion world in terms of what they're doing ethically per product that someone buys, do you think, and do you hope, the other big ones follow suit as well? And how do you feel about that?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Again, comes back to one of our recent conversations. I think you were saying, if we get to a point where, say, catches someone like H&M's eyes, and they say, oh God, we've got to get on this, we've got to do this. From the business side, you sort of think, oh my God, danger, threat, someone, like H&M, big budgets, big thing, they'll do it. But again, if Eaton is, forget the recognition, but if Eaton is genuinely the reason why that a brand like H&M, or maybe not even someone that big, but someone in the middle tier, changes their business model or releases a range and puts all their marketing behind this range that actually gives back and does good and that type of thing, it'll be a dream come true. It's for me, I always think about leaving a legacy. It's funny, I co-founded a sportswear brand called Legacy as well, so that's where this whole concept was about, leaving your legacy. What is it? And for me, I'm very privileged to be able to do something like Eaton, because it really goes back to my roots, and my dad telling me and talking to me about stories of when he was growing up, and very very poor family, and only the dad would, once a week they would have some form of, say, meat dish or something, a very small amount of meat, and it's only the dad, and the mother sometimes might take a little bit and hide it for their kids because that's all they could afford. But the dad was the big man of the house, so the dad would always have it. And I think when I hear all those type of things as a poor family who's not able to afford food or like that, to obviously even more extreme case of people who just can't afford food, period. I genuinely do hope that this Eaton, as well as some of the other amazing brands, not just in fashion but other areas, that they are the ones that create this movement and inspire the bigger organizations who do have the influencing power and the buying power and all this type of thing to do even more good. And I'm not here to say that those companies are not doing good or whatsoever. I know but I think I genuinely do feel we need to, or these bigger companies need to move away from corporate social responsibility, and people need to move away from just doing it because it looks good. I mean, that's a whole different argument, isn't it? Oh, I'm doing
sure, absolutely. I think that's a whole different video.
Yeah, it can be another 1 hour thing which might have to do. But I would love it, Ben. The simple truth is, I would love it, and if Eaton can be a part of that, and hopefully it will be, and I do think it will be, I'd be very happy.
I mean, definitely, man. I think that's what you want. Like you said about having some sort of impact. It's kind of anything that you're doing, whether it's creative or in business, you want to have some sort of good impact as well. Because I think intention, going back to, let's break it down like very quickly, just intention is a big part of life, I think. And I think if your intentions are pure, if what you want to do is not for, here's the thing, a lot of people jump into business and to make as much money as they can and live this life that they think that they will be happy from. But really, I think happiness comes from serving people and helping others as well.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I always say, I've had sort of depression on a couple of different occasions for a couple of different reasons, and the one thing that got me through it, and I was, doctors had said, considering medication, all of this, and but I had good advice at that time from other people around me, very grateful for them, said don't take it. But what did help me was helping other people, and that was sort of more in a social care environment, but still, regardless of that, working with people who are unfortunately one way or another more less fortunate, and it just opens your eyes, and that's definitely what was my medicine and remedy. And I to be able to do that in the form of something that's a passion, like Eaton, is phenomenal. But as you say, mate, the intention is pure, and there's nothing more rewarding than helping those who actually need it.
I agree, and I find that amazing. I genuinely, I think I read something that if you're not feeling great, you should help someone, and it makes you feel way better, and it's so true.
It really is. No, mate, I love that. I love that segment. I know it went all sorts of ways, but I loved it, every single bit of it. So thank you. No, I absolutely loved it. Thank you. So again, with the whole fashion, we'll sort of bring it back into Eaton now, Ben. So what's your favourite Eaton apparel at the moment, or so far? Maybe something you own, something you've seen on the site, something you're planning to get. And then following from that, it'd be great to hear from you. What else would you like to see from Eaton Apparel in terms of the clothing and the range?
No, definitely. Okay, so I have two things that I'm a big fan of. I love this. The kind of the sweaters over here, which is great because you can kind of wear it casually as well. It feels amazing and it's great. But also it's the hoodies, man. I got the black one, but the one that you're wearing as well in black, and and I think every time I wear it, it's like the neck design is so unique and it's so different to kind of what anyone else has seen. I always get a lot of compliments with it, especially during winter. Like, it's fantastic. It's like a turtleneck, but in a hoodie. It's fantastic.
And the thumb holes.
Oh yeah, the thumb holes as well. Like they go really. I've completely missed that out as well. Yeah, the thumb holes are amazing on that one as well. Oh my goodness, because I think that's the thing about Eaton. It's like the fact that it's all kind of casual, but also workout wear as well. But kind of leads on to kind of what I would like to see, like kind of statement pieces as well that you can wear like on a fashion base as well would be like great, like prints or like really cool innovative designs that, you know, you could wear as kind of streetwear, but also wear as, you know, in the gym if you want to. And I think that's the point, like having versatile things. And I think all of the stuff is versatile, but also just having something that just really has a statement piece as well. Because I know, for example, for me on a fashion point of view, I wear very the only things that really stand out in my outfits are kind of the shoes or the jackets, you know, or the hoodies. That's it, right? So the rest are kind of like very simple, and I like it quite simple. The rest are like something very different. So statement pieces as well, like designs and stuff would be so super cool. And also the fact that it would definitely reach out to also people that love streetwear, and that's when I personally believe streetwear, I think, is massive right now and will always be big. And to kind of have that would definitely hit a different demographic of people as well that would want to jump on that too.
I agree. And you know, we've got a lot of big plans this year. A big focus is a sort of sustainable range and the vegan aspect of it. And, you know, we've had a lot more. In fact, this hoodie, which has been around, for those of you who know, it's been around for a while, has just recently been vegan certified as well, because it's a process that happens for when you have to vegan certify a garment. And they've gone through the process, and this has now been vegan certified. So it's been updated on the website. So that's all fantastic news. Very, very good. But coming back to your point, I mean, one of the other things that we're very keen to do is, you know, experiment with the different types of designs and, you know, the different cuts and sort of fits and feels. And, you know, streetwear is a big thing. You know, that's a given. And everything you've said, especially hitting a different demographic. And I think, God, like if you got that demographic involved who then are buying these cool looking products and taking amazing photography and using them and this, that, and other, but knowing that each and every one has fed people in need. I think that's, if we can get that right, I think that could be so mega. So it's definitely something we will be looking at, Ben, this year for sure.
Definitely, man. I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited, especially some of the discussions we've had as well. I definitely think that it's going to be a lot of fun, and also a lot of people are going to really love some of the stuff that's coming out.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And actually, on that note, for the audience, if you're a freelance designer or just a designer and you'd be interested in collaborating with us in some way, shape or form, please do get in touch with us, website, DM, whatever. Just get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And you know, we're a collaborative business, so we're always looking for, you know, super talent who share our vision and want to, you know, sort of support us on that journey. So if that's you, please feel free to get in touch. So Ben, that sort of wraps up from my end all the questions that I just wanted to say the question, but, you know, I think it's just worked out beautifully in a conversation. So I've really enjoyed this, and this is just it's so therapeutical as well, I think, because we can just so openly talk about, you know, our backgrounds and where the business started, and again just it reinvigorates and restarts the engine inside me of the reason of why Eaton is done. I think sometimes it's so easy to I'm not saying lose it, but you do feel demotivated when things don't go your way and think, you know, you get tired, you lose it. So I really appreciate it, and this is hopefully it's been a good experience for you, but for me it's been a phenomenal experience. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me as well, man. It's been so good, like you mentioned, man, just having that conversation anyway, and just like and I'm sure like this will like definitely benefit a lot of people, and also someone that isn't aware of Eaton as well, to kind of have a deeper dive into kind of what you guys do and what you guys stand for as well. And I think that especially kind of your background story of how it inspired you from the series of events of life, and I think that a lot of people are going to resonate with that.
Sure. No, thank you, man. No, it's our pleasure. So I'd now obviously like to give you an opportunity, if you have any particular questions about me or the brand or anything we've got planned or anything like that you'd like me to share, please fire away.
Absolutely. I think you definitely mentioned about, you know, especially designs in the future, which is great, especially where the business comes from as well, and then what you're wanting to do. What I would like to know, and I'm sure a lot of people would as well, is how do you go about kind of picking certain countries as well? I know that you have certain countries like Yemen, for example, that are going through a massive hunger crisis as well, and how do you go about picking a country and then once someone kind of clicks on a country, how do you then determine how many people we will feed for how long, and what's the process of that as well? So I want to know, as a consumer, when I click on something, what is the process in the background to getting that person fed?
Sure. No, great question. Great question. So currently at the moment we have 5 countries, which of course you mentioned Yemen. We've got Nigeria, India, London, and Ethiopia. Ethiopia was the latest addition, which we have added which was a slightly different approach to how we normally add our countries. And what we did is I think you participated, Ben, but we asked our ambassadors. So we had a list of our sort of top priority countries, and say top priority. It's like Yemen. Yemen was. As I think, as we all know, the issues that are being faced in Yemen, and the number of adults, a number of people. Let's forget adults and children, but when you do think about the amount of children who are dying because of starvation and things, is horrible, and that was for example one of the reasons why we wanted to sort of add Yemen, and then Nigeria followed because of the issues that they were facing there. And some of these things, unfortunately the media doesn't really pick up on a lot of these things. Sometimes you have to do a bit of searching. I think Yemen was obviously bigger, but some of the issues that were happening in Nigeria, which was actually recommended by Sam, and initially when I set up the brand, India that was always initially when the first website ever came out was, for every item sold, we feed one person in India for a whole month. That was a thing, and in my head I didn't, and then slowly after a few months we then added London, and then because people were saying, your UK brand, you should support people at home, and fine, and then now obviously the vision is to add all the countries, or as many countries as possible, and so on. So I think going forward for me, it's 2 things in terms of the countries we want to add. One is definitely our ambassador network, and giving you guys an opportunity to be part of that decision. And it doesn't mean that the other countries won't get picked. It'll just probably be added next month. And again, as the brand grows, there's no reason why we couldn't launch 10 countries at a time because of some of our new partnerships. We're able to do that type of thing. So hopefully that also, but also, so the other point I wanted to make was, if we also come across another country that is, there is something very, very very sad and tragedy happens, and actually they need more support, we will very quickly respond to that and add that as a country that can be added onto the checkout or the add to cart process. So that was the process. This is the process now with the ambassadors, but we'll sort of do a hybrid approach depending on what's happening in the world. But I'd love for the ambassadors to sort of keep being involved in that. I think that's important, and that's because
I love that as well. The fact that you get people involved as well that are kind of directly working with you guys as well, which is fantastic. So for example, so when someone buys something, especially, and clicks, for example, London, how does that what's that process with that as well? How do you then go about going to feed someone depending on the country that they pick? How do you have partnerships with organizations? How does it work?
So I'll tell you how it works now, and then I'll tell you what my vision for the future.
Vision for it. Oh yeah, right? Perfect.
Because I think that's going to be important. So at the moment, we're a small organisation. A couple of guys, trying to change the world, that type of thing. So we've got currently three great relationships with 3 organisations. The Akshay Patra Foundation in India, Brixton Soup Kitchen, and Penny Appeal. So these are the 3. They're charities, and they are registered charities. And for example, like in London, the question you referred to, and as a great example. So Brixton Soup Kitchen. We know the founders, we know the guys. I said I took some influencers and some guys previously when we were Feed before the pandemic, and we went there. We picked up food. We went to the kitchen, we opened all the cans, we cooked the food, we put it on plates, we hand served it to those who were coming there, who come every day for their food. And we then obviously, I say negotiate, but we sort of work out and say, actually, what will it cost to feed X number of people, or whatever's the sort of the cost ratio, and then we'll sort of negotiate that, and based on where our current sort of business allows us to do to ensure that, you know, we're obviously covering the cost of our products and our marketing efforts and therefore, you know, whatever percentage donation that we agree that we put on, and that's what we sort of fix. So it's rather than saying, oh, you know, this hoodie feeds 5 people, but this T-shirt only offers 2. No, we've standardized it. So if you buy a cap, you know, that will still feed people, the same number of people, because that's the way we've sort of done it. And I think there's a couple of things. I think as we grow as a business and our purchasing power increases and all of that type of stuff, I think, you know, as our margins improve as a business as well, we will be. I mean, one of the things I've already sort of thought about is once we get to that place is, you know, in my head, I think how quickly can I go? How quickly can I get the meals that we give, for example, say Yemen, Nigeria, like how can we make that 10 meals, 15, 20 meals? And how can we do, you know, India at the moment is 1 person for a month. How quickly can we get that to 5 people for a whole month each? So, and I think that will happen as our business improves, our margin improves, as the sales, all of that sort of things as our business grows. And I think that's going to be a core principle for us. It's going to be, obviously as a business, you know, we need to perform, we need to be able to generate those revenues and profits to reinvest and to grow. But fundamentally, our mission is to feed people in need, and if that means that we can it can accelerate the process to hit our target of 1 million by 2025 to 2023 or 24, we'll do whatever it takes. And the next target of 10 million, 15, a billion, wow, you know, that's the sort of level that we're thinking of. My other point in terms of the future is that, again, once we're at a reasonable size, I would love to set up Eaton soup kitchens around the world.
Wow.
And these would be, there's 2 things. So this would be that means that we can control the whole process. So this can be that, I don't know, we may even, I mean, this is just me thinking out loud, but we could even have once a year or, you know, once a month at different locations where we take volunteers, you know, our customers come with us, meet our employees. You know, we're providing employment opportunities where we pay people good money. We make sure we cook everything, you know, fresh and organically, whatever we need to do there. We're serving the food and say, hey, or maybe a customer who's been with us for a long time, hey, we'd love to invite you. We'd love to fly you out to X and for you to come and volunteer and to serve food. You know, would you be interested? So I think that Eaton Soup Kitchen thing is something that just excites me. And you know, if we can get that done, even if not in every single country, but say in 5 or 10 sort of cool countries, I think that would just be phenomenal.
I think that'd be amazing, man. Honestly, I can kind of see that as well. And there's nothing wrong with kind of speaking that into existence and also saying that that's where you want to take it. Because when you said that you're gonna give employment opportunities and also give people, the customers, the chance to kind of go out there and do something good physically, not only just doing something good in terms of buying a piece of clothing, but also going out there and actually experiencing, this is where it's going. Hey, you guys have clicked this. You come and have a look. This is what you're doing, and this is what the rest of the world people, the rest of our customers are doing. And also it's just that impact as well, man. I think that's beautiful, man. And I think that, God willing, it will happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Definitely, man. But yeah, that's super inspiring, man. And yeah, like honestly, like thank you so much for having me as well. Like just having this discussion as well, and like the back and forth.
No, I've really enjoyed it, man, and I'm excited to you know whatever else we end up doing together, and you know I think there's, especially from today's conversation, there's been so many interesting pointers that have come up that, you know, I think as we joked about a bit, saying that could probably be an hour's discussion in itself, but I think there is just so much that's going on, and you know I'm really excited to obviously keep carry on having conversations with you, but also with our other ambassadors and other, you know, people who are interested in terms of what we're doing. So I think there's more to look out for in terms of this type of content. But as always, man, really appreciate your energy and your contribution and just your presence, man. It really means the world.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It means the world as well, man. Being able to kind of like work with you guys as well on the ambassador capacity and also other things as well. So I'm excited, man. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to kind of seeing what other discussions that you guys have with other ambassadors and also what you guys do, man. So thank you, bro. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, man, for having me.
Really appreciate it, and thank you to our audience for joining and for viewing. We, you know, genuinely do hope that you found this super insightful, and hopefully found a little bit about me and then obviously Eaton, obviously all about Ben. Please, as I said earlier, go check out his work. We'll make sure to tag and everything, so you can go check everything out about Ben. Give him a follow. Incredible, inspiring guy, and if you ever need any video work, etc., then he's the guy to go for. But guys, thank you. This is Kevin from Eaton Apparel, and until next time, stay safe and speak to you all very soon. Thank you.